Welcome to day two. I am Harris Walls Communications Director Michael Tyler, joined here with the Convention Executive Director Alex Hornbrook, as well as Congressman Garcia. I am not going to waste any time. I'm going to kick it over to Alex to kick us off here as we get into the programming around day two here in Chicago.
Thank you, Michael. Morning. Welcome to day two of the 2024 Democratic National Convention. So last night we heard about the transformative accomplishments and results that the Biden-Harris administration has delivered for the American people. We had so much energy and enthusiasm for our president and our ticket from our speakers and the audience reaction that we recognize that did put us a little bit behind schedule, but we are working with, we made some real-time adjustments last night to ensure we could get to what the delegates and the viewers really came for, which of course is President Biden, and we're working with our speakers and making some other adjustments for this evening, including beginning at 5:30 to make sure that we stay on track for that tonight. But what you're going to see tonight is the broad, diverse, deep coalition of support for President Biden and the Harris-Walz ticket, including, of course, Chicago's own President and Mrs. Obama. We'll also hear from some other key leaders, including Leader Schumer, our incredible hosts here in Illinois, Governor J.B. Pritzker and Senator Tammy Duckworth, Senator Bernie Sanders, Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham, Mayor Giles of Mesa, Arizona, and of course the person who knows the Vice President best, Second Gentleman Doug Emhoff, will be able to speak to the strength and the leadership that she will bring to her presidency. And we're very excited for everyone to see our celebratory roll call, which will be held tonight and will be rooted in some of the most beloved traditions of our roll call, giving every state a chance and territory a chance to shine, while also introducing a number of new, innovative, exciting elements that will harness and display the energy and excitement behind the Harris-Walz ticket, which we will be displaying all week here in Chicago and then out on the road to victory in November. And so with that, I'm going to turn it back to Michael.
Thank you, Alex. And again, welcome to day two of the Democratic National Convention. Alex provided a brief overview of some of the speakers tonight and through afternoon and early evening. We will share more details for your planning purposes throughout the day. Today, we'll showcase the full strength of our party. But it's not just what we're doing here in Chicago, it's the work on the ground in the states that we know wins elections. I just want to talk about that briefly. We're building an operation that's built to earn the 270 electoral votes we need to win. The entire convention this week will showcase the broad and diverse coalition that elected Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in 2020, and that will send the Vice President and Governor Walz to the White House in 2024. It's even more proof that our campaign is working to earn, not ask for, not expect, but earn every vote between now and November. We're not taking a single vote. We're not taking a single community for granted. We're investing early to reach voters where they are, young voters, black voters, Latino voters, AAPI voters, Republicans that are putting country over party, and everyone who will make up this winning Harris-Walz coalition. We're leaning on our trusted messengers in every community to convey our vision, to ensure all Americans can not just survive, but thrive. And we're reaching across the aisle. Already, we are seeing Donald Trump lose support from his own party, including those who know him the best. We are building a broad-based coalition to make sure that voters, regardless of party, know that they have a home in our movement to protect our freedoms and defeat Donald Trump. So this week's programming isn't just a compelling program. For us, it is a tool for organizing. We're turning our energy into action. So to kick off the convention, for example, we had a weekend of organizing, of action, weekend of action, with over 2,800 events in battleground states. We had over 10,000 volunteers make nearly 900,000 calls and who knocked on almost 150,000 doors. So that's over 1 million voter contacts in just one weekend leading into convention. Again, it's not simply about the programming that you see on TV, it is about the action on the ground to reach the voters that are going to decide the pathway to 270 electoral votes and why this moment matters for us as a campaign. So our tent is big, it is growing, as Vice President Harris and Governor Walz are leaving nothing to chance. Today, they'll both attend a rally in Milwaukee to organize and energize Wisconsin voters in the place Donald Trump called a horrible city. So they'll be here. They'll be in Milwaukee right up the road later on today. Tonight in Chicago, America will get to know our future first gentleman, from his middle-class upbringing in Jersey to his successful career as a lawyer and now as a law professor. Doug Emhoff will show America the Kamala Harris only he knows. As America has seen these last few weeks, she's joyful, she's empathetic, and she's tough. That's what differentiates us from the other side, as we have a convicted felon in Donald Trump who runs on chaos, on division, on self-obsession, who's pulling our country backwards instead of bringing us together. Not exactly a unifying message that reaches the voters who will decide this election. And it will make the difference this November. While Trump fights for no one and nothing but Donald Trump, our tent is united, it is energized, and it is laser focused on sending Kamala Harris and Tim Walz to the White House. So with that, I will turn it over to Congressman Garcia.
Good morning, everyone. We're obviously here this week to talk about Vice President Harris's vision for the future, and a vision that really focuses and centers Americans and the fundamental freedoms that all Americans care about every single day. And I think what you're also going to see moving forward and tonight is the clear contrast between the Harris-Walz ticket and the backwards-looking Donald Trump with what is now an incredibly unpopular vice presidential pick in J.D. Vance. In fact, the most unpopular VP pick in history. Every time we turn around, we see Vance attacking women, the rights of families, moving back freedoms, ranting about magazine covers that Donald Trump just did about Vice President Harris. We're getting not just weirdness, as we see, but a complete just chaotic campaign, a chaotic message. All they're talking about are abortion bans and moving the country backwards. Now, just yesterday, Trump has said he had no regrets about ripping away the reproductive rights of women across the country. That is the kind of message that Donald Trump and J.D. Vance are promoting every single day across this country. And as we can see, America is not having it. What's really important to remind us, and we reminded folks of this yesterday and will again tonight, is that Trump is totally unfit for the White House and for the job. He left the worst jobs record since Herbert Hoover. He turned infrastructure week into a punchline. And of course, his failures we saw over and over again displayed, not just last night, but we will do that again today. So why would the American public want to go back to that again? Today, Donald Trump talks about his Project 2025 agenda. That was highlighted yesterday. It will be highlighted throughout the week. He wants to raise middle-class costs by $3,900 a year. He wants to ban abortion nationwide. He wants to repeal the Affordable Care Act. He wants to fire civil servants and destroy the government as we know it today. Now, we know that just earlier, a few months ago, we saw Google searches for Project 2025 surpass even searches for Taylor Swift. So voters are really turning on and tuning in to Project 2025, and you saw that yesterday, and you'll see that continued. And of course, we have Vice President Harris, who is fighting for the American people, who knows what this is all about, which is making people's lives better, and that will be highlighted tonight. Donald Trump, let's be crystal clear, is a convicted felon who wants to make everyone's life worse and only cares about himself and his billionaire friends. So make no mistake, heading into November, we know still to this day that we are the underdog campaign. We are not taking any single day for granted. We're knocking on doors and making phone calls every single day, and we're very clear about what the mission is ahead, and that's what tonight is going to be about. And don't forget, this is a week also of contrasts. It's convicted felon versus a prosecutor who wants to move us forward. And with that, I'm going to turn this back over to Michael.
Thank you, Congressman. With that, we will take a few questions. I know we've got a microphone that's going to go around here. Go ahead.
Hi, thank you. Oh, sorry. Just wondering if you could speak to the Vice President's plans for listening to the second gentleman's speech.
I don't know if we have programming updates on that quite yet.
Not yet. Stay tuned.
Let's go over here.
Oh, thank you. I was wondering, there were some speakers who were canceled. James Taylor's performance was pulled. I'm wondering if those will be rescheduled, like James Taylor, will he be performing? And do you have any highlights of performers this evening?
So for in terms of last night, as I mentioned, we had a lot of people who were very excited to talk about Joe Biden's record and Kamala Harris and Tim Walz's vision, and so we made some real-time adjustments to the program. Our program team is working very hard right now to ensure that we can, be on schedule, but also make sure that the program reflects the broad and deep and wide and diverse coalition of support around Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, and so we don't have a specific update for you on specific speakers on specific days, but that's something that we're very focused on right now.
We have Fritz at the front. His hand up.
Will there be a Palestinian speaker at the DNC this week? And if not, why not? And will the vice president be able to fill Fisher Forum like Trump did during the GOP convention last month?
Yeah, listen, in order, I don't know if we have any programmatic updates on the speaking program right now to speak to. Obviously, we've had the panels that have been going on, that have been productive and fruitful conversations throughout the week, this week. I think what you've also seen from this campaign and from this vice president is somebody who understands the goals of many of the people who are showing up to demonstrate here, and frankly, who shares those same goals, right? Somebody who wants an end to the violence, who wants a permanent ceasefire and a just and lasting peace and an end to the violence, and is going to work day in and day out until we resolve that, whether that's as vice president right now or if she has the opportunity to serve as commander-in-chief. And frankly, that is a stark contrast, somebody who approaches situations like this with the seriousness that they deserve in the vice president versus somebody in Donald Trump who approaches issues of national and global security with his own personal self-interest at hand. I think that is going to be the fundamental contrast that the American people see for the remainder of this campaign, and it's a contrast that we are prepared to run on. As it relates to crowds in Milwaukee, I don't know what the actual capacity is, but I think what you've seen over the course of the past few weeks since the vice president kicked off this campaign is a groundswell of enthusiasm, right? You saw 10,000 people show up in Atlanta. You saw, I think, almost like 12,000 people in places like Eau Claire, Wisconsin, 15,000 in Detroit, Michigan, 20,000 in places like Vegas and Phoenix. And so we're excited about the crowds. We're excited about the energy. But I think what we are, frankly, more excited about is the fact that when those people show up to those rallies, we're also signing people up to serve as volunteers, right? You had 10,000 people show up in Atlanta. 1,000 of them signed up to volunteer for this campaign. So as we spoke to earlier, it's not just about the energy, it's about turning the energy into action in moments like that and like this. That's what the convention week is about. That's what the weekend of action that I referenced earlier is about. It's about making sure that we harness this moment of energy and enthusiasm and turn it into action, because we have less than 80 days to go. And what we as a campaign understand is that this is going to be a margin of error race. This is going to come down to tens of thousands of votes in a handful of states. And so we have to use every single tool at our disposal to make sure that we turn out every possible vote. That is the infrastructure on the ground. That is our paid media apparatus on the airwaves and on digital platforms. It is the principals, the vice president and the governor crisscrossing every single battleground state in the way that they have, leaving absolutely nothing to chance because there's far too much at stake. And so we're going to use every tool that we have at our disposal between now and November 5th. Probably one more over here.
Thank you so much. So this actually is not about the convention, but Congressman Garcia, I was wondering, there's a lot of focus on passage of the Equality Act with the Democratic victory in November. Are there other LGBTQ legislative priorities that would be a focus for you with the Democratic victory in November?
Sure. I mean, a couple of things. I think let's first remember that the Biden-Harris administration has been the most pro-LGBTQ plus administration in history. And Vice President Harris is a big part of that. I don't think we've ever had a presidential candidate who understands the LGBTQ plus community or has advocated for that community as much as Vice President Harris. When she was DA in the Bay Area, she was one of the first people in the country to marry same-sex couples and started that whole revolution across the country. And so what we have is an incredible advocate and friend as a candidate. Obviously, the Equality Act, she has said herself, is the top legislative priority. She's spoken to it many times, but I also believe that her administration will be reflective of the diversity of this country, including within the LGBTQ plus community, and also to have someone that is not attacking LGBTQ plus people every single day, like Donald Trump is, who has been incredibly homophobic and has been incredibly I think shameful in his attacks on the community, I think will be really important. And so I think you're going to see not just the Equality Act, but to be support of ensuring that we're not banning books and that we're not doing horrible things to attack the community.
I have time for one more question. Go back here. We're going to back here.
Hi, thank you. I wanted to ask about the DNC platform that was voted on yesterday. Can you give us any reason as to why it was not updated to reflect that Harris is now the nominee? Was it a lack of time? Did you want to give Vice President Harris more runway for her policies?
Yeah, I know, and Alex can speak to this, but obviously the platform was voted on before the switch here, and so it's part of the process as it normally played out. I think what you've seen the vice president do since the top of the ticket is begin to lay out her vision as well. That's what you saw her do in places like North Carolina last week, where she talked about her plans to lower costs for the American people, take on meat processors, lower the price of groceries, build more housing, right? Give first-time home buyers more of opportunity here, where you saw her also talk about things like making sure that we have a tax code where middle-class families can actually get ahead, not just get by, where millionaires and billionaires actually pay their fair share, where we don't have what Donald Trump wants to do, which is through his across-the-board tariffs, a middle-class tax increase, but we actually provide a tax cut for middle-class families. So she'll continue to build out her own vision here over the course of the next 80 days, but we feel confident that the American people understand the very stark choice that's in front of them between Kamala Harris, who is fighting for the American people every single day, and Donald Trump, who increasingly is running a campaign that's based off his own personal self-obsession, that is unhinged, and that is about serving nobody but Donald Trump. I think when the American people go to the ballot box, they're going to understand who has their back, and that's Kamala Harris. All right, y'all. Thank you so much. We're going to get out of here.